It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job, episode 93. Today, my name is Mike. That's Brian.
Yo, and today we have Mr. Michael Furry with the Yard Lab, the founder of the Yard Lab, I should say, and project engineer over at GCI. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you today?
Good.
Great,
Thanks for taking the time to join us here.
Yeah, I was pretty excited. I know for our audio listeners, they're going to get this prior to the video coming out. They're not going to understand what I'm excited about until I say that there's a few guitars behind your head, which is super rad, and a banjo and a ukulele. So as a fellow stringed instrument player, I am excited to talk to you today. Good to see you, man.
Nice. Good to see you guys as well.
Well, yeah, you know, I say the same thing every time, but kind of how we start these, want to hear about your history in terms of how you even got started in the industry, what kind of propelled you to that, and where you guys are at today, or where you're at today in construction.
Great. Well, should I just jump right in with how?
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Way
When
back
I was
in the
five,
day,
I was
once
working
upon
for
a
my
time.
dad.
Well, growing up in a small town up in the Los Sierras, in Northern California.
Okay.
My family did either two things. They either ran bars or were contractors.
Or did
As
both.
I was a kid.
Oh, yeah,
or did
yeah.
both.
At the end of the
right.
day, you go.
And so I grew up every summer either bussing tables or picking up nails on a job site with one of those little magnets. And went away to college, got out of, dropped out briefly to be a stand-up comic, and then realized that I needed an actual job.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. And having gone to Chico State as a party school, the only thing I really had going for me was Chico State, known as a construction management school. I myself was in international relations, so I just kind of leveraged the school name. You mean moving into the construction field? You were saying I went to Chico State. They were excited, and you just you left out the international relations.
I went to Chico State, period.
Yeah, just left that part.
Yeah.
I understand that. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Except I went to a different school, but I understand.
But prior to that, I was in insurance, which I understand you guys have a background in.
Yep, we sure
A
do.
little bit.
I worked for Country Financial, had my Series 6 and 63, and absolutely hated it. The only thing I liked was the analytics part of it and the actuarial side. Always been a bit of a math nerd. So I carried those.
A comedian and a math nerd, huh?
Yeah, there actually are a few of us out there.
Well, I mean, it probably means that you're just brilliant, right? You come up with stuff on the fly.
I wouldn't. I would say so. I think my wife would differ.
It sounds about right. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no! And then so I left that company for pursuit of something a little more in my wheelhouse, and got fell into the trades again. Just everything always comes back to the trades. Mm-hmm. I ended up as an ops manager for a job site safety company that is now the largest traffic control company in the United States. It's TMI. Wow. Worked there for 6 years. Worked my way up to being operations manager for our Northern California office. And then was recruited over to be a project manager for another construction company, running maintenance. From there, that was a contract position. And then I got recruited by GCI, where I've been for the last going on 5 years.
Nice.
And what do you do over at GCI?
I'm a project engineer there, but I've pretty much transitioned into construction technology and analytics. So I head up all of our construction tech. I answer a lot of questions all day, and then that's basically what I do. And then I also do some analytics for our sales and marketing team and run our Salesforce and our database.
Wow, very cool.
Where does the Yard Lab figure in all of that?
Well, that happened when I was an operations manager, and it fell on me to lead toolbox talks or tailgates.
Yeah.
every morning. And the only time I could get everybody together was about 4:30 or 5 a.m. because the different job sites all over the bay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was awful. I mean, even being in construction, I did not want to be up that time of day. So a friend of mine named Dougie and I came up with an idea to make an app that would automate toolbox, or tailgates. So the Yard Lab came up with Work Safety app, put it up on the App Store. It's basically it's just a way to still in OSHA compliance get out your safety topics and have everybody sign and timestamp. That way nobody has to actually be in the same spot all the time. And also saved us hundreds of dollars a year in donuts. So
Did it let you sleep a little bit longer?
It did, actually. It did, which was really the goal all along. I mean, safety is always number one, but
personally for you, I get it.
Sleep is great.
Yeah, they come hand in hand, right? Enough sleep, make sure you're safe for the job.
Yeah.
So where are you procuring the topics and all that and the information that you guys are disseminating?
Really from all over. I had a pretty big database going into it, just listing every topics from, pinch points, heat hazards. My personal favorite was, we even have a topic on there for killer bee attack.
Nice. Yeah.
So I remember
Is that a thing? Okay, here we go. All right, here's the story. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no. So a few years ago, I guess there was a swarm of killer bees in Arizona and in Southern California. And I was asked if we had a topic to address, the killer bee.
Survival of the killer bees. Yeah.
And I found one. And so it was one of my favorite ones just because of it's a little absurd. And I like to throw it in every now and then.
So what is the tactic? I mean, I have to imagine it's just flail around and run as fast as you can, right?
No, that's basically it.
Unless you're a carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of avoid them, I think. But it hasn't been a problem in Northern California.
That's good.
Until you get the murder hornets, right? Weren't they coming down from Washington or?
Oh man, I remember seeing the pictures of those last year. And actually I kind of wanted to see one. But
yeah, right.
It reminded me of the I don't know if you guys remember Mickey's, like the under the cap on Mickey's. The little
Are you talking about the malt liquor? Yeah.
Yeah. Those murder hornets kind of look like Mickey's
a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess that's coming from running the bar, right? The murder hornet reminds you of the malt liquor. Yeah. So how is that going for you guys? I mean, how many? I guess you can't really track how many contractors, right? Because you guys are in the App Store. But does it seem like it's something that's pretty popular that people are using? Or enough people?
Yeah, it was. It actually picked up a little bit during the start of the pandemic. But strangely enough, a lot of the users that I had initially and still do are in Australia. And
really?
For some reason, it just picked up in Australia.
Huh.
I guess they also like to sleep. So
yeah. Do you charge for that, or is it revenue generating at all for you, or?
We used to charge for it, but at the beginning of COVID, when I saw it, when everybody was still really unsure of social distancing and everything they needed to, I just made it free. So I took off everybody's reoccurring. We had it as a subscription service, but with everything going on, I thought it would be best if everybody had access to, a freer version of it. So
that's cool.
That for all of our existing customers.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Do you have plans to grow that at all into anything further as far as, I don't know, maybe, harassment training or some of those other trainings and everything else that companies have to go through?
Yeah, it's actually, it can be used for pretty much anything. We set it up because I knew that there was going to be different regulations for different areas, and not knowing really what the Australian equivalent of OSHA was.
Right.
At the beginnings, I went ahead and just made the topics open source, so you can pretty much put anything into it. It could be used for anything you need a signature on and a timestamp.
Oh, so you can actually have the end user can actually upload their own documents or any sort of training materials?
Yeah, they can upload anything they want to it and send it out.
That's pretty cool.
And then as a secondary app we're working on developing right now is something that provides more of an analytics, kind of a dashboard look into fuel consumption, really anything that's going to help save money on those bottom lines.
Yeah.
Is the idea also you don't really think about?
Yeah, like to give a contractor the idea of what their actually daily spend maybe on a project, so they have some transparency and some understanding of cost before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I noticed that a lot of, especially the smaller shops or independent contractors out there, don't really have access to a lot of the tools that I do, just from a cost perspective.
Yeah.
And so, always trying to help the little guy out.
That's so funny. We were literally just talking about that on the one we recorded this morning with a guy that he came up with his own. He's a one-man shop, and he literally took the time to write out his own like standard operating procedure for everything he does in his business to, one, keep himself accountable, but also keep himself on track and keep himself kind of in check. But I literally said the same thing. I mean, I feel like that's a tool that, he's a flooring contractor, but you could adjust that to, fit any sort of contractor. And as a smaller contractor like you said, doesn't have access to a lot of those resources from a cost standpoint. This is, a great way to kind of just put yourself on that right track, because most people don't put those things into place or look at those things or care about those things until they get so large that those things become, instead of losing $100 or $200 here or there, now you're losing thousands or tens of thousands because you're not as efficient as you could be or should be. So yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
and what is
little bits all that up.
Yeah. And what is GCI's role in this, or are we going to get in trouble? Do they know that you're doing this kind of stuff or like on the side? Okay.
Oh yeah, they know. And actually they'll let me do some beta testing.
With the company? Also. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great. I was able to get a lot of bugs worked out.
Well, and you at GCI, you said you're also working with Salesforce and some other, sounds like some other software in the company. So is this something that, when you say beta testing, are you looking to use the company or give it as a free service to the company so that they could utilize it to get a better understanding and kind of, I guess, use the benefits or reap the benefits from the app?
Yeah, absolutely. Once I get all the bugs worked out of the analytics side of it, then that'll be something that I'm hoping we use there. But we also have, as a bigger GC, we have a lot of access to technologies that even like a lot of the smaller companies don't.
Right.
And I see, especially right now, there's a lot of smaller companies out there struggling, and a lot of our subcontractors that I'd like to be able to give some sort of analytics tool within their grasp, to help grow them as well.
Well, and I feel like it probably is to the benefit of GCI as well, right? Because you're providing a service in a way to the smaller guy that they can have a more accurate understanding of maybe what that bidding process should be, as opposed to maybe how they're bidding currently, I feel like the estimator for a subcontractor is probably one of the most important positions out there, because you can either make or break a company based off of how you're pricing things,
Right. Those change orders start rolling in, and things get derailed pretty quickly. But yeah, I think that we have such a wealth of resources and just a great team of people there that, looking back at my uncle or my cousins who are contractors that don't have that, in the residential scope, rather than the commercial field, but in the residential side, I just see, the same kind of things that they go through that the bigger companies do, but without really the tools to mitigate some of those costs.
Right. Do you have any kind of grasp or any kind of understanding, mainly maybe from, the downloads of your app right now, of just kind of what everybody's, or what kind of market reach you have? And the reason why I ask is because, like you said, you talking about your uncle, your other family that had been in this for a while, maybe they didn't have access to it, but I have to believe that there's some portion of the industry also at that level, the independent contractors or the guys with, just a few employees that maybe don't want to go to something like that, right? Like, I've been writing my estimates on a yellow pad and handing them over on a napkin and doing business with a handshake for 30 years. And it's the way I'm going to continue to do it. So I guess the long-winded ask here is, do you kind of have any sort of grasp at, what that breakdown looks like of how many of those smaller guys are into it and want it versus how many don't?
I really don't. Even some of the smaller contractors that I've been working with are already well adapted, iPads, and
Right.
they're already using technology usually as some form. And I think that it's gone so mainstream that, the days of having your even invoices, on those old, with the white, the pink, the yellow sheets.
Yeah, the carbon copies. Yep.
Yeah. You don't really see those much anymore. And even on the smaller side. So I think that definitely the space of technology is kind of has really, where it used to be more of such a niche thing, it's become more
well, I feel like
readily available.
Contractors almost having to do it, right? I mean, there's companies like you that are so, or like GCI, that are so technologically advanced that even as a smaller sub, if you happen to get jobs or want to work for somebody like that, you almost have to be, right? Like you guys at GCI, you're not going to accept a carbon copy invoice from a guy, right? Or, his bid on a piece of paper that he wrote out and wants to mail to you in the snail mail, right? Like I'm sure there's a process involved that they have to be a certain level of technologically advanced to even compete in that world.
Right. But I don't think that's just necessarily even with just GCI. I think that's pretty much across the board.
For sure. Yeah.
And I know it's just, it's one of those things where I think that it started off as a novelty. A lot of, especially in the construction world, a lot of technology. But as people became more adept with it and there were more real world uses and people see that there is a benefit to, there's a benefit to the cloud rather than having a stack of papers.
Yep.
Right.
That I think it's, it has become commonplace and to at least some extent.
Yeah. I think, and we've talked about it on this show. I mean, that's one of the benefits or reasons why we're doing this show, right, is to kind of push the envelope a bit in this industry specifically because it has lagged behind for so far. I think it's at that tipping point now where, everybody better get on board because it's going to start going downhill fast. And when I say downhill, I don't actually mean downhill. I mean uphill from a productivity standpoint. But I mean, like things are going to start catching steam and moving a lot quicker than they did even 5, 7, 8 years ago. And you kind of got to get on board even as a small guy. Otherwise you're going to miss the bus.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that even a lot of the clients want to see that too. I mean, even prior to the social distancing and different protocols that had to come into place, tools and technology like OpenSpace or Matterport or any of those that allow virtual job site walkthroughs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, people love seeing that. And it, like I was saying about the novelty aspect of it, I think that has kind of melted away to where it's almost commonplace now. Yeah. Yeah. And it almost has to be.
Yeah.
Well, especially today, right?
Yeah.
With COVID being the way it is, especially a lot of these virtual, you can't just do things like the way we were doing a year ago. It's completely different. Yeah,
absolutely. I used to, I've been working from home, luckily for the past several months, but prior to that, I was just taking public transportation into the city. I live in Marin and I was on the bus, I'd get up at, I'd be in the office at 6. I'm on the bus at 5 from Marin County to San Francisco, where the office is. And I can't imagine ever getting on a bus again right now. Like that sounds insane to me.
Yeah. Well, and you almost become more productive at home, right? Because an email comes in at 8 p.m. and you're like, oh, let me get to that. Let me check that out real quick, or you know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, I went from a 40-hour work week to I don't know when I stop.
Right. I'm sure your wife loves that, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it's great. We have she's in the other room. She's got her own little home office set up. I've got one set up in here.
Perfect.
And then it's pretty nice, and being able to eat lunch together every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you at GCI? Are you strictly involved in the analytics and the management from a cost and productivity standpoint, or does it spill over into any sort of marketing or anything along those lines?
Yeah. So I do work a lot with our marketing team. And that's mainly in our, the Salesforce side. We have a really great marketing team that really just needs me to do some data entry for them for here.
Right. Right.
They're the masterminds behind all the marketing. I'm lucky enough to get to work with that team and the sales team a lot, and then also get to still do a lot of what I love on the
number crunching
engineering side. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I ask is we talked to one of the topics we like to bring up in this format is that digital marketing aspect, because like the technology on the job field, the digital marketing is also one of those things that, maybe was being done by a select few and was kind of niche and not so much commonplace back in, 4 or 5 years ago. But now it's one of those things. It's another one of those things where if you're not doing it and you're not efficient about it and you're not doing it with a purpose, people are going to start passing you up really quickly.
Right.
And you're going to get looked past on most levels, just because people are kind of craving that right now from a consumer standpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you guys, are you involved in any of the analytics of that as far as the conversions on any of that kind of stuff? Any insight on that kind of stuff, or?
Not so much directly there.
Yeah.
Mostly my side is, running analytics and reports based on sales projections.
Yeah.
But as far as the digital reach and conversion from those packages, not so much, and
right.
Thankfully so, really.
One more thing to add to the plate, huh?
Just foul that up, yeah.
Do you have any kind of grasp or any way to kind of quantify kind of some of the things that you guys have done or that you've been involved in, and how and what it's done from an efficiency standpoint?
Sort of a graph for it? No.
Or just not a graph, sorry, a grasp, any kind of way to like quantify any of that kind of stuff, yeah. Or have you been able to kind of prove what you guys are doing is being more efficient?
Oh, I definitely think that the grasp that I do have for that is that we are, even throughout the 2020, which has been just a weird year.
Right.
We're doing better than just holding on. We've been making strides and moves forward. As a lot of, unfortunately in our industry, a lot of people have been hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
And when in the commercial space, when the world stops, so does construction. But
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully that hasn't been as bad as it could be, I think. And a lot of that, I think, is because of our marketing team and the reach that they have.
And the ability to be efficient, in multiple places, right? Like and see those things in real time. And I would assume a lot of what you're doing allows you guys to pivot and make adjustments on the fly, being able to see.
Yeah. Being nimble is definitely one of our core values. And it's something we talk about all the time, being able to pivot and jump, and the integrity that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back kind of to the analytics side of things, when you were, as you're developing this new kind of software, have there been any aha moments that you've seen going through, meaning like, I never realized that, or maybe this is a better way we could actually approach, I don't know, cost and spend here as opposed to here. I didn't realize it was this way. Or have there been any surprises that you've seen as you've kind of uncovered some of these new, just new pieces of information? A little bit. One of the things that I'm working on right now with the app is actually kind of an Internet of Things. I've got a prototype that we built out of Raspberry Pi. If you're familiar with the Raspberries. I am not.
Yeah.
It's
only because I have a friend who does. He breaks them all down and uses them for a bunch of stuff. It's pretty intense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great little toy. They're about $30, and it's basically it's an open source circuit board that you're able to run Linux programs on.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is turning a basic accelerometer that you could attach to a car to figure out your starting and stopping speeds.
Yep.
And then translate that into the amount of gas and fuel that you're using. And the idea of that came when I was driving to Costco and had to slam on the brakes really quick. And I was just wondering, oh man, I wonder how much to get back up to speed.
How much gas am I going to utilize to?
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I am a nerd. So that pretty...
I'm a wannabe nerd, so I can appreciate that.
So is the end goal there to kind of distribute that to different companies that have large fleets that, to kind of monitor that and become a little more efficient there?
Well, so there already are similar things out there for companies that have larger fleets, but the littler companies can't really, it's a giant cost investment. And at that point it becomes,
doesn't make sense if you got 3 to 5 trucks.
Exactly. You're going to be spending more on the product to save money than you would if you were saving.
Right.
So the idea is to try to come up with that facet of it as something that could be open source, so that we could develop the software that somebody could download, and then they could put it on their own. They could get their own $30 Pi, just insert the chip, and then you're good to go. So I mean, it's a little more involved than that, but the idea right now is still in the beginning stages. But it's I'm hoping to bring some of the bigger analytics tools to the smaller guys.
That's cool, man. Cool. I love that. I love that thought process or that idea. It's good for the industry. It'll help. It'll help out quite a few people.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, what's the? I know you talked a little bit about that idea. Are there anything else? Or what's the next few years look like for you from a professional or personal standpoint as far as moving forward?
Well, the next few years, I'd like to move more into construction analytics and more of that role where I'm at. But personally, my wife and I are trying to start a family.
Awesome.
Nice.
So, assuming that the world goes back to normal at some point, I would like to, a lot of those plans have been put on hold for a lot of people, but we're pushing forward with it. I mean, I remember back in 2019.
That sounds like it was like a decade ago.
Yeah.
From a life experience standpoint, it was a while ago. Yeah.
Do you guys remember when Australia was on fire? I mean, that was,
I know,
that happened this year.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Here's fingers crossed for 2021.
Yeah, right. My aunt said something funny the other day. She said she was talking to somebody who said, man, we just need to have a reboot on 2020. And she looked at him and said, well, crap, we're so close to the end of 2020 at this point. We might as well just run as fast as we can to the end of it and get to 2021.
Get it over with.
Yeah.
Rip the off.
Let's not reset and try and do it again. Let's just get the hell out of here.
Right. Was that Green Day song, the Wake Me Up When September Ends?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Wake me up around 2020
Yeah. Very cool, man. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I think it's been fun. I love learning about all that tech stuff. I think that stuff is necessary and good for our industry. So thank you so much for what you're doing and the way you're doing it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. It's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, a lot of fun. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say before we close out, if you could just let people know where to find you in terms of social media, like we've been talking about, or websites, anything like that.
You can reach out to me at yardlab.com and just the Work Safety app on Twitter.
Awesome.
Nice.
Very cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, stay in touch.
Thanks, guys.
Be safe.
Yeah, happy 2020. Woo-woo.
Have a good one.
All right, see ya.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.